99% of the people are blues. How many of you can think of a blue person somewhere in your life circle? Very cool. All right, wrapping it up here. As a red, reds are motive is power. Their statement is just, sort of get out of my way. They're like a shark. Okay? And not in a bad way. They just like to get things done. They're in control. They get it going. Their occupations that they gravitate towards are attorneys, airline pilots, CEOs, politicians, police officers, drill sergeants, boot camp type things, right? They're sort of like a bull in a china shop. It's their way or the highway. They like to make a decision and just get it done. Okay? Just deal with it. Let's make a decision. Any indecision just drives a red crazy. Just make a decision. Right? And they gravitate towards occupations that allow for that. In fact, encourage that and want that. Right? Here's the reality, gang. The last thing you and I would want is a yellow airline pilot. Right? Think maybe we'll land, maybe we won't. Maybe we'll take off. Don't really care. Right? No, we're gonna need some decision points being made here, and that's what a red does. They sort of do it and live with it. They're always right. If you don't believe me, just ask a red. All right? They're always right, and they've got, listen, if you think about it, in order for you to make a decision, you've got to get in your mind that in fact you are right. That allows you to trigger the decision mechanism. It's okay. It's just the way you're built. Right? That's who a red is. They're not very compassionate. They don't have a lot of time for compassion. Sort of an old-time dad statement. There's no use crying over spilt milk. Right? It's done with. Let's move on. That's sort of the thing that a red will draw the line at, where, a yellow will handle that situation differently. Okay? So that's how that plays out. They're in command. They live by comparison, and money is oftentimes a way to keep score with a red. Okay? Now, here's the thing. They're forceful with volume in their voice. They're dressed for success. Their strengths are focused. They're goal-oriented. They're intense about many, many things. Their weaknesses are they have an ego, short-tempered, dominating, impatient, and unteachable oftentimes because they have all the answers. Now, here's the deal. As you look at those qualities in our business, they are very difficult, aren't they? Please understand that the red personalities in our business they line the top income chart of people that have success in our home-based business arena. Why? Because at some point in time, they recognize that they were red. And they do not hold other people to the same standards. If you're a red person and your red personality is like that and driven, oftentimes what will happen is you won't be able to duplicate because nobody's going to be able to do it as good as you can do it. Remember, our business is about helping other people develop success. It's not about doing it for them. Red people oftentimes come to me and say, I can't get anybody in my business to do anything. I'm like, well, why not? It's because nobody knows what to do. And those that do don't do it right. Well, there's the first clue. All right? So what we got to do is we got to recognize, listen, internalize that, use it to drive your behavior, but don't lay it over someone else's. Okay? Use it to drive your own behavior and let other people be who they are. You're going to need a whole bunch of different people in your organization. Some will be like you, some will not. Turn that energy back to yourself. Those that recognize how to do that in some form or capacity, whether they heard it through something like this or they just recognized it, okay, those are the people that line the top income spots in the home-based business industry. And you'll want to find them and you want to use them, okay? And it'll be great. The keywords are money, power, control, to the point. Dislikes are indecision, chit-chat, losing control in any form or fashion. And about 15% of the population out there is red. How many of you can think of a red person somewhere in your life circle? Yeah. And listen, as we go through those four color groups, having just that little bit of knowledge will help you a great deal. I travel a lot, and so what happens is I get upgrades and stuff like that, and I oftentimes sit in first class. Okay? And when I sit in first class, oftentimes there's a bunch of overachieving red people in first class. Okay? And so I'll sit next to somebody, and when I'm in that situation, not always, but when I'm in that situation where I sit next to a red, I will talk to them about the fact that we need leaders. We are looking for leaders in our company. And I'll ask them what they do, a little chit-chat and so forth, a little side talk a little bit, even though they don't like to chit-chat, I'll find out a little bit, and then what I'll ask them or tell them is, hey, I'm just coming from Atlanta or whatever, and man, we are starving for leadership in Atlanta. And all of a sudden, Red goes, really? Leadership, that's me. And they're listening right away. You can't say that to a yellow. Why is this so important in our business? If I sit next to a yellow, and I'll recognize it pretty quick, if I tell them that, hey, we're starved for leadership in Atlanta, we need some leadership in Atlanta, they'll be like, man, well, as soon as you get some, maybe you could let me know. Because then maybe I'd be interested. Because without leadership, how are we going to do it? See the difference? If you just knew these little bit of subtle things back to you, you don't want to talk to a blue sitting next to you about a bunch of heavy details and how compensation works and all the qualifications that you need to do to get through this, that, or the other thing just to earn money. It's like, woo, oh, blue will turn you out. Why? You want to talk to a blue about going to Hawaii on the company trip? You know, we flew 658 people to Hawaii last year. Seriously, oh man, it was a blast. We had a great time. You ever been there? You ever been there when somebody else paid? That's how you talk to a blue, right? And then you talk to a green about, you don't even have to talk to a green, you'll just answer questions when you sit one after that.